Hello, Environmental Policy 1 students. Back for week 10, which is really a practice week rather than getting a lot of new material coming in. But to start, I want you to Google Environment Climate Change Canada Acts regulations, and you will see that there's quite a good web page there that will allow you to identify all the various acts, regulations, regulatory plans, and so forth under Environment Climate Change Canada. So again, Google Environment Climate Change Canada Acts, Regulations, and Agreements. And I want you to take 2 or 3 acts and 2 or 3 regulations from that source, and begin to practice a little bit on identifying the key features of those that I list in my week 10 notes. There's a long list there, and I want you to just go through an exercise of trying to identify these elements in the acts and in the regulations that you choose as examples. I mean, you can choose Canadian Environment Protection Act or the Fisheries Act or any number of acts that you want, and choose some regulations that are related, and just go through the exercise of reading them and trying to understand their component parts, including purpose and objectives, scope and coverage, key legal principles, all the things we discussed 2 or 3 weeks ago in my lecture, definitions of terms and expressions, public and private sector responsibilities. Remember, I told you that there's always going to be a split because no government can implement all aspects of law. The primary administrative authority, try to identify that. The scope and type of policy instruments that are allowed under the Act or the regulation. Delegation of authorities under the law, inspection authorities, record keeping and reporting requirements, enforcement authorities, confidentiality agreements, appeal processes under enforcement actions. Now that list is all in my notes under week 10 in the booklet. So get that out, have that list there, and go through, say, a couple of different acts and a few different regulations, and just practice finding these things, because until you actually kind of open these things up and look at the source documents, the real acts, the real regulations, and practice how to identify these things, you won't really understand what it's all about. And if you get a job with a major company or with a government organization, particularly with a major company, you're going to be expected to know how to do that, to know how to interpret the requirements of the company under the acts and under the regulations, and that just takes practice. I mean, going through and trying to identify these things in the acts that you choose and in the regulations that you choose. So again, pull up the week 10 notes, then Google Environment Climate Change Canada Acts, Regulations, and Agreements, and begin to just go through a little bit of practice this week and take a bit of a breather from the reading and focus mainly on that exercise for this week, okay? And that will hold you in good stead, and you'll see what I mean later on as we go further into the course. On that, I'll let you go and enjoy the exercise. Have a little bit of fun with it. Practice is what you need to do to be able to begin to interpret these legal documents in the way that you'll have to once you start working.